Let's start where it began. How did you two meet?
Want me to start? We met at Clark University. That's where we both went to school, our freshman year. So that's back in 1979. So we've known each other for a long time. I'm going to tell you a really funny story. It was, I don't know, probably like October, November. I was with, my roommate, loved my roommate. We got along really well. But I had other friends who wanted to go out, and go out for a party and all of that. And I was not in the mood, but I didn't want to tell them that. So I said to them, well, I might be hooking up together. Not hooking, I shouldn't say that. I'm hoping to get together and meet this really guy that I really like. His name is Fred Berkowitz. And she goes, oh, where'd you meet him? I said, oh, he's part of our Hillel and all of that stuff. I never met him. I just knew his name and I saw him at one point. I said, okay. And then, I don't know, like maybe a few weeks later, we were meeting each other.
My first time, and I've often told this story, meeting Cathy was in the Hillel office. She and another person, a good friend, ultimately a very good friend, were actually planning to lead Friday night services. And I didn't, we wandered into the Hillel office, myself and a guy from across the hall, wandered into the Hillel office, and literally I remember, I just kind of remember Cathy, couldn't remember her first name. So I thought her name was like Jody. And it was like Jody, and it was just kind of like one of those things, but I couldn't take my eyes off of her eyes. She had these beautiful blue eyes. And so we walked out of the Hillel office. I'm talking to my friend Phil, and he said, well, what do you think? And I'm like, about what? He said, about the girls. And I'm like, they were like as if there was more than one person in the room. Because, and I can still, picture, and then of course, didn't see her, Cathy, until many, months later.
Really?
At a federation planning meeting. We were back then. They used to have student campaigns
For UJA.
for UJA, and so they
Get all the Jewish kids together.
and Cathy, all I heard is this loud voice. We're all broken up into circles and whatnot, and I heard this voice, this loud voice from across the room, and this laugh, and I was like, "Who is that?" And then someone said, well, that's Cathy, Cathy, it's Cathy. It was and I said, okay. So like someone that I wanted to meet because, it was just this really great, and she was telling a story and I can't even remember. And then again, it was like many, it was just like many months later before we actually.
Well, the funny thing is, I guess he asked, it was a Friday night Shabbat dinner. Everybody knew that Fred wanted to meet me and be with me. So it was a Friday night Shabbat dinner.
I can talk
we
about
were
it
young.
now.
We were like 17
young.
and 18.
I was still very new to back then. I was still very new to the dating scene. I had really not had a very serious girlfriend, and I didn't know much about relationships. I still thought of myself as very young, and I was very young. I was 18, but I was really, very naive. I hadn't dated much. I'd only had one serious girlfriend that I didn't want to, blow it. And so it was very well known at that point that I was interested, and
I was clueless.
And so people were leaving the chair next to her open. Ooh. So that I could sit, next to her.
But my personality is I invited everyone to sit next to me. Not realizing Fred wanted to sit next to me.
And then the next time that
but even that night afterwards, the things, at campus, we went after Shabbat dinner, we went to everyone goes to the pizza place and we played video games and stuff like that. Actually, Pac-Man was a big thing to play. And Fred said, hey, we want to come. I said, yeah, I'll come. And I started inviting everyone.
So essentially I invited her to go with me.
And I invited the world.
And so she's not picking up on any of the signals. And clearly I wasn't really very forthright in saying, hey,
Nobody wanted to come with us.
because they all knew. It was,
You're like, Kathy, get the signals, the smoke signals
come on,
that are
Kathy.
happening. Yeah.
But I was like all about being inclusive. I need to invite everyone. We need to be together. This is what it's all about.
and
So
of course, everybody,
it changed.
yeah, because her friends were people that I was, that
Friendly with
I was
too.
friendly with too. So it was because Clark was
Small
was then and
campus.
still is a very small campus, very small community, and so it was like, we all knew, it wasn't, secrets were not.
No, exactly. Except I was, I guess, not with it.
That's all right. That's all right. You were just having fun. You're having a good time.
Exactly.
So
So that's where it began
that's
back
where
in
it began.
1979.
Wow.
Yes.
1979. That is, so you were 17, 18 at the time, you were saying.
I was 17. Fred was already 18. I was turning 18.
Right. And I had already turned 18. I was older. I was,
Oh, well, wow. My older man, 6 months older.
Oh my gosh. So okay, so Fred, you noticed Kathy right away.
right away. Right.
And Kathy, and you didn't notice, when did you
I kind of did. I was telling my friends about, in the sense, like, I didn't want to go to that party. I just said his name because that's the first person that came to my mind.
I was
So
on
I
the
was
mailing
not-
list.
So
Right.
I must have obviously deep down, obviously there was, feelings and stuff like that, or, like, ooh, he's like someone I want to get to know. And then, Fred's shaking his head no.
It was very clear that I was pursuing.
Yes,
I
he
was-
pursued me more, and then actually the thing is we really became really good friends. Communication and someone that we can rely on each other. We're in school, we're trying to figure things out, trying to figure out what our future is, and we really relied on each other. And I think that is where we really grew together as a couple.
We didn't have classes together.
Yeah.
Even that early, I was
a chem major.
I was science oriented. Of course, people who were taking hardcore science, whether it was biology or chemistry or biochemistry, thought that anybody else, was taking like a gut. Like
Yeah,
really,
I was the gut. He called my major a gut. I did sociology and Judaic studies.
so
So I was the gut major.
yeah.
But I think because of our friendship and being together, it just grew, and we realized, this is really good, that kind of thing.
Wait, Kathy, when you went on that date, or you made that excuse to go out with Fred that night, like, what did you guys went out on a date, or
No,
you didn't
this
do
was
anything?
I made it up.
she had no
I had no idea. I just made it up because I did not want to go to the party.
You really didn't even see him.
I just wanted to stay in my room that night.
Oh my gosh.
I was without a doubt, I was the tall, nerdy guy.
It was
And it was very prototypical, like, oh my God.
And he was very involved with Hillel, and that's something obviously that, I knew who he was, but I made that story, not even knowing that we would be husband and wife for 37 years.
That's hysterical.
It is.
So, okay, so when did you guys actually have your first date then? Because you were friends, but when did it change?
Our first official date was Valentine's Day of 1980. We went out to a restaurant that's now out of business. Went to the Worcester Galleria, had to catch 2 buses, the whole thing. And we went.
We didn't have cars back then.
Nope.
And that was our first served plum wine at the it was at the end of their meal. Back then the drinking age was, but they served plum wine, and plum wine is still one of our favorite sentimental things to drink together.
Yes, it is. It's very the wine that they gave at the end of their meal with desserts, so it just became our wine. I don't think today we would drink a lot of plum wine because it's really sweet, but when we see it, and actually what was the name of the actual plumeria, something like that. If we see it, we buy it just for the sake of buying it.
Yeah.
So that was our first date.
I don't think I've ever had plum wine. I don't think it's
very, very sweet. It's like a sherry kind of taste. but a sweet kind of, I think something like that.
And it's funny, and I still think about, because it goes back to, and the first rose that I gave her for Valentine's Day were yellow roses. Now I had no idea that, I liked yellow
Don't
roses.
yell it. I was gonna say, don't they mean friendship?
Yes,
Yes, but I love yellow roses.
yes.
And that's our,
I was, what
he
did I
didn't
know?
know, but he knew I liked it. And yellow roses is actually even today, yellow roses is my flower. And actually Leah, our daughter, yellow roses is her flower too. So it's really
Aw.
funny.
So if you're looking at, when we send the wedding picture, and if it's, depending on which one, there are yellow roses in the bouquet.
Yes.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, I guess it did start as a friendship. So
Right.
it is a friendship.
And
you
the
guys
thing
are
is, I mean, I consider Fred, my best friend. There's someone I can go to. There's someone, okay,
No.
someone I can always, and someone I can be with, and someone who understands who I am, and I can be who I am. I don't have to fake Kathy Berkowitz.
You captured him right away. It's just being you. I mean, you weren't trying to impress him. You weren't trying to do anything. You were just yourself.
Blue cowl neck sweater.
I love that sweater.
I'm telling you, long,
I had long
dark
hair.
Tracy.
So you guys started dating, and then how long did you guys date for before you got married?
We
Or
got
engaged? I'm sorry,
19
engaged.
Yeah, we got married in 1984. Engaging. Want to hear this one?
Yes, please share.
We already graduated from Clark University. Fred was at graduate school at Columbia, and I was at graduate school at Brooklyn College. And I went to Brooklyn College. I went to, when Fred got into Columbia, I made the decision I want to be at school in New York so we can still be with each other, and near each other and stuff like that. We went to his cousin's bar mitzvah, right?
Oh, right.
It was Michael's.
No, it was Andrew's.
We went to his cousin's bar mitzvah, and we've been together since '79. And I think this was obviously after '83. I don't mean, not because we graduated in '83. I don't remember exactly when. So we went to his bar, and he introduced me to his girl as this is my girlfriend. And I'm like, oh no. We need to change that.
But you were.
I was, but I'm like, no, we need to change that. So we had a conversation after the bar. We need to change this. I think I'm more than just a girlfriend, and you're more than just a boyfriend. So we got engaged. It was Thanksgiving.
I think we were a little bit. It was also because there was another young couple that was there, and he had introduced her as his fiance.
Right.
And we realized it was like, wait a minute here, like we were going together much longer than they were.
And this was probably right after graduation, 80, because we graduated in '83. So we're in New York, and obviously it was that Thanksgiving, that I think was November. I don't know if it was actually Thanksgiving, but it was definitely November. We spent the day in the city. We walked around and looked at all the lights, and the windows that were decorated for the holidays and stuff like that. We just walked around. We had a great dinner. We went down to the Hudson River, and that's when Fred actually
It was the
East River.
Right. The East River is on the east, right?
I don't know. It was a river.
Right. At least
It was a river.
river.
It was a river
It
in
was
New
a river.
York.
It was the East River, but
And we were sitting there and stuff like that. And,
no bodies were floating by. We were-
right. And that's when he asked to marry me. So
Aw. Fred, did you know, did you have a ring picked out? Did you know this is something that was coming? Was it just spontaneous?
Everything was somewhat planned. There was no engagement ring because we did not have.
we had no money.
Yeah. We're both in grad school.
No jobs.
No job. And here it was. It was like kind of one of those things where, like, how could you possibly get buy anything?
Yeah.
We had more student. We had lots of student
A
debt.
lot of student loans.
Well,
So,
at least you focused on that, yeah.
Right. So there was, which was fine. And then also, afterwards we made the decision, when we did have a little money, we decided to buy furniture for our apartment versus
So-
a wedding.
That's a good idea.
So what we did was we decided that the wedding bands, and we picked out the wedding bands together. The
The
wedding
Lower
band,
East Side, and we wanted something special. We had it made.
I think about the amount of money that we
We spent a
spent
lot of money on the wedding.
on the wedding bands back then. Now everybody would say, really, that's all you spent?
But back then it was a lot of money for us. We wanted it made a certain way. We had, I am my beloved and you are my beloved.
As opposed to some people, we did spend a lot of time figuring out what was going to make
So that's,
would make it special.
so that's where we went more with our,
And a lot of people looked at our wedding bands, and it became a topic of
yes,
conversation.
it did. Yes, it did.
Afterwards,
Wow.
people kind of looked at the bands and said, we've seen this, but we haven't seen that,
Right.
that kind of thing. And yeah, it was,
Trendsetters. You guys are
Yes.
trendsetters.
But I did get an engagement ring.
yes,
Remember?
many years later. And yeah, it was, but we won't talk about that engagement ring. And it was, it was the first significant jewelry purchase. And then the diamond fell out.
I fell out. But
No.
it's,
After all of that, you waited all this time, you do this purchase, and then, oh my gosh.
but it's okay. But it was all good. It's still, it was
But you have
special.
wonderful wedding bands. That's all. that matters.
Exactly.
And a beautiful marriage. And a beautiful marriage.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. So then you guys got married pretty quickly after that.
We were married in November '84. It was Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh,
There
wow,
was no reason to-
Thanksgiving weekend.
There was no reason to.
To wait that long.
Okay, so so we talked about it. We got engaged. I said, but we can't set a date yet because neither of us have jobs and we don't know what we're doing. Cathy basically said we have to set a date, and here's what. And so immediately, right after the first of the year, Cathy got a job with the district attorney's office. I lined up an internship,
Which got paid. So
Which
we
paid
made, so we
internship
tried
and-
to make it happen. So
and we finished everything that we needed to finish. It was like we set a date. So we started telling our family that,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget calling my grandmother on the, she lived in Florida at the time. And I thought she'd be really excited, but I forgot who I was talking to. And she said, I said, Grandma, I'll let you know and whatnot. And she said, all right, so what's the news? And I said, well, I got engaged. She said, yeah. And what were you waiting for? We all knew that you were going
you'd be the first one. That he would be the first one. And she said,
that was the other grandmother.
oh,
That was the other grandmother who said, oh, this grandmother was like, okay, now that's why you called me. Like, why are you wasting my time? Okay.
Like we all knew Cathy was gonna be it. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Because we've been- I've been- right, sure.
According to them, everybody knew for years.
Yeah, because I went on vacations with them throughout our years that we were together. I mean, I was always around. I mean,
Yeah.
that's summer vacation during summertime when we were at school. I came down for really good number of weeks and and stuff like that. So I was always Cathy was always around.
And my dad had actually wanted when my youngest brother was becoming bar mitzvah and Cathy came. My dad wanted to have pictures of Cathy in the album. And my mom said, but what happens if it doesn't work out? In the meantime, there were so many divorces in the family that the album,
So changed.
the album was
We're
like,
still
we're
still together.
still together. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
No, you guys
no
have
one-
like.
Yeah.
So I guess like when did you know that this is your person? Was there a specific point? Was it? What?
When did we?
When did you know? When
When
did
did
you
you
know?
know that was me?
Yeah. That you were like, I need to be with
I
Cathy.
think from the beginning.
Right away.
I think because we did have a great relationship and we were very comfortable with each other and there's a deep,
We shared the same values.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's really, and it's a deep, it's really a deep feeling. I don't even know how to explain it. It's hard to explain. So which is good.
But I tell you, if I said that the most challenging aspect of the relationship as we grew in college was how are we going to figure out the conservative reform Judaism?
I grew up Reform.
and I grew up conservative, and it was really it was an educational experience for me because I had an understanding of what Reform Judaism is that was so totally off base that I really didn't understand what Reform Judaism was all about. That once we bridged that piece of it, because conservative Judaism back in the early 80s is not the conservative Judaism
we have today.
no, it's not, it's more welcoming and embracing.
Yeah, very different.
Very, very, very different. So in a lot of ways, our relationship was growing right before that whole transformation of conservative Judaism. I really didn't know. Even when we had planned to get married, even my rabbi, the rabbi that I grew up with, wasn't so sure about this one. And he made her read Hebrew.
Yes, he did. He did.
Because I wanted to have an uproar. I wanted to have an uproar from my congregation.
And I wanted to be involved.
I wanted Cathy to have an aliyah. And he said, well, I listened to her read Hebrew. He says, oh, she can read Hebrew. And he was very impressed.
And it's the same rabbi who eventually, actually, at Fred's grandmother's shiva, he counted me in as the minion, where he would not count woman, but he did count me as part of the minion.
So that was.
That's such an honor.
Obviously,
That's
yeah, and obviously our religions brings us together too. Our Judaism and our love for Judaism, as you know, Aria, that we have a deep feeling, and I think that also helps us to connect us, because we do have those same values. We have those same, the spirituality. And I feel the love that Fred and I have is more of a spiritual experience. It's not just a physical experience or, that kind of thing. It's more, it's a real true connection. Like I couldn't imagine myself not having Fred in my life. And it's just, it's just knowing, and it feels really good to know that he's here and that together we've made a life together.
As every couple jokes, there's the before the kids, and then there's during the kids, and there's always, the joke is like, well, what are we going to do
after the kids,
when the kids are
COVID
gone?
helped that.
And our kids say, how are you guys going to do it? And I am quick to remind them that for 8 years,
we've been together.
Before we ever had a child, we were together. We were a couple. We were friends. We found things to do
that we like to do together. And also we respect that we do things on our own as well. That kind of thing. And that's even to this day, now that the kids are grown. And actually COVID's been nice because it did slow us down. And we were able to, I guess, reconnect. It's like, oh yeah, I like this. That's when I decided, well, guess what? Even though we're back into the workforce and doing our crazy stuff, we're going to slow down because it's nice to have that time together.
I like this person sitting next to me. Yeah, I actually really did like hanging out with them. Why did we stop hanging out?
Right. Yeah. And we tell the kids, it's like, why would we not enjoy that? And so that's what I was leading up to, is that now that we have COVID, when COVID was taking place, it's like, I'm like, we were together a lot more than we had been together. We used to joke when we were at camp, we shared a living space, but we were rarely together.
Because we're so separate with the work we did. So
the schedules were different. Even meals, I would miss meals a lot.
The day when we were at camp, days off were really, important for the two of us, and we had some great times. And then COVID hit. It's like, we have that now all the time. It's been great. So that's something that Fred and I, realize it's important for the two of us to make sure we continue to have that time together. Because when you get into those crazy run around worlds, you're in your car going to this, to that, to this, to that. It was nice not to have to do that.
Right.
And something, the world made us do it, which was great.
It's so nice when somebody else makes you do it, right?
Exactly.
Like, oh, okay. I have no choice.
We can do this. I can stay home.
I probably knew, though, sooner. I probably felt it sooner than Cathy did, or at least, I felt by the end of our freshman year that this was someone who I could build a life with.
Yeah.
And we had, we had lots of good role models that, they different examples of what successful, relationships, might look like. It didn't have to be, one size, one way. That we had very close friends who were still, in touch with, who helped us understand that you didn't have to be financially settled, in order to make a marriage work, as long as you were all on, using
on
the
same page and
connect,
right, and doing what we need to do. So, yeah.
So what is something that's kind of just you've reconnected on now since COVID and just things, and like then just you slow back down a little bit? What is something that you both enjoy doing together?
Actually, we enjoy, I mean, cooking dinner and sitting
Yeah.
down together and having
Oh,
dinner together.
Yeah.
That's a huge, and we were doing it, we were doing it every day, but it's been nice that we sit at the table and we talk and go over our day. And granted, we're both still working. He's in one part of the house, I'm in the other part of the house on our computers. So it's a nice time just to like connect that way. So I think that was really great. I think family, our kids, which are so important to us, is another way that we were able to connect, because we made sure that we continue connecting with our kids. We had opportunities. I mean, they were part of our pod, even though they live here. We made sure that we could make it happen. So that, and then, you know, at Fred's 60th birthday, which was back in May, when we were all vaccinated and, you know, ready to open up, we went to we went to our favorite place. We went back to where camp is. We went to Franklin, North Carolina, not too far from Clayton, and we did our camp stuff with our kids. And then also the things that Fred and I like to do. You know, we have our favorite winery, we have our favorite restaurant. Just to have those experiences
Right,
was really kind of
right,
fun to do
Yeah.
again, and that we haven't done for a while, and also to do it that we're not working at camp. So it was kind of fun. We just had fun.
right. It was an easy thing to, when we were planning that vacation, which was Kathy's idea. You know, Kathy knows what it was that I wanted for my birthday. It was just time with the kids. That's all I wanted. We didn't have to do anything together. We didn't have to, you know, it was very much sold to them as, let's get together for Dad's birthday. This is all he really wants, is just to be together. And we're going to do some things while we're there. You guys can do some things. We can do some
You
things
could join
together.
us, whatever you want
You
to
know,
do.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
and it was a very kind of free, you know,
So it was like, I guess it was our second honeymoon.
it was,
Even with the kids, but it was great. It was
but-
the best experience we had.
but back to the dinner part, which is really kind of funny, because our lives, you know, because pre-COVID, you know, our schedules were so, you know, were so different. We were going in many different directions, and late into the evening, it was very rare that we would have dinner together, other than, you know, maybe Friday night we would have Friday. So when we were now together, sharing many more meals,
Mm.
what was nice is seeing how much Kathy liked to cook and experiment, and to cook for me, as opposed to go find something in the refrigerator and figure it out. And what I enjoyed was that Kathy was able to, we were able to sit, have a meal, talk, catch up. And then Kathy was able to leave the, you know, after working and making something very special. And everything that she made was, I'm an easy guy to, there's no doubt, I'm an easy guy to please when it comes to cooking. You know, put any, I don't have to cook it. So if someone's cooking for me, I'm going to enjoy it. I don't care what it is. I'm going to enjoy it. And then Kathy was able to then get up, and from the table, and I would clean up after.
Which I hate doing.
And you know, it was like,
A balance.
and to me,
Exactly.
it was like, okay, this is my contribution. And so that's how you know, from clearing, even if it was whether we were using good plates or paper plates or whatever, I'd be clearing. It was
It was great. It was, so we want to continue doing that. So that's something.
Wonderful.
I know obviously when the fall comes and we're back in swing, it might be more difficult, but we're going to make sure we have time. We're going to make sure there's time for that. And if not, we're going to make sure we find the time to do those kind of things. So,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
so important it makes you grow together instead of,
Yeah.
you know, growing apart, is that
Exactly.
reconnection. Yeah.
Exactly.
And staying connected. What's your favorite thing that you love about each other? Or what, you know, maybe one thing, the thing, just something you love about each other.
I love that Fred is very sensitive, and that he does show his emotions, and not many men will do that. At least he shows it to me, maybe not on, but he does show his emotions. You're laughing at me, but it's so true. He's very sensitive, and he's very concerned about family is a big piece. All our family members, from my mom to my grandmother to, you know, to his mom, grandmother, and to obviously his siblings and to our own kids. So that sensitivity really touches me. And I know with that sensitivity, I mean, he'll be with me. And I know as we grow old, he'll make sure I'm taken care of in so many ways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, in terms of, what it is I love about her, I mean, just kind of like, is everybody is important to her.
Mhm.
Everybody matters to her. The years and years. I'm like, and I would sit there and go like, this, every lost soul, every child that would walk through the door of the religious school, and if they, the more it was just like, why are you worried about this child that is on the fringe, this adult that's been pushed to the fringe? Why are you, and Kathy really feels this deep, I mean, I don't know where it comes from, this deep abiding love, wanting to reach out, wanting to, some people would describe it as be the, excuse, not the rabbi in the ordained sense, but be that person to those people who have nobody else.
Yeah.
Because they have, because she is without a doubt the most unassuming, non-threatening. It just, there's just this, I mean, it doesn't get extinguished. It's just there. And it just seems like there's a little bit more for the next person, and a little bit more, and a little bit that, and you can see it when on the few occasions that she has allowed herself to be put in the spotlight, where she has allowed herself to be celebrated.
Yeah.
People just come out of, from nowhere. It's not nowhere to her, but it's like, how do you, like, how do you know these people? Who are these people? How did, and they just
It's like a
kind of,
little superpower,
it is her superpower. Thank you. It's like, and then she still has, but you say, well, how does she have enough for everybody else, like for us? And she does.
It's a
It just,
superpower. It doesn't run out.
like she's like the Green Lantern, and she sticks her ring in. You tend to admire something about someone else that you don't have in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that I'm not a loving, caring person,
No.
right? But I'm like,
It's so
yes,
beautiful.
that's right. I married her. That unique. I married her. I did good. And I tell her that all the time. She knows that I'm her biggest fan. She knows
he is.
I am her #1 fan.
This was so much fun, you guys.
Oh, it's so
Thank
fun
you
to tell
so
you, Ariel.
much.
God, Ariel, you know more about us than our kids do. But I told them they had to listen to the podcast when you're ready to put it up.
They'll listen. They're gonna be like, wait, what happened? Mom rejected dad how many times? Or not rejected, just oblivious.
Exactly. Just like
Which is so funny because, yeah. I mean, I guess finally you just weren't interested in dating, I guess, Kathy, right? You just weren't.
I was just into making sure everybody was happy and we're all being together. I mean, I made new friends and I'm trying to make a community. That's what I do.
And that's what you do.
And I don't know that I was that interested in dating either, except that when my friends kept saying, a few of my friends kept saying, you keep talking about her. Why don't you just go ahead and ask her out? And I had no confidence because I had no real success.
Oh, you probably thought I had all these guys after me.
And you did. You forget about the guy from WTI.
You were just doing your own thing, Kath, and you had this
I was
whole
just doing my
lineup of
thing.
guys. Yeah.
I'm making community.
She was very, very approachable. Now, after all, we always joke that the group of people that we hung around with were not very tall. Most of the guys were 5'4", 5'5", and the girls barely broke 5 foot. So here it is. I'm
6'2".
We all laugh.
That's why I guess I noticed it.